Do you remember the first time you met Rod Blagojevich, and was it when you were working with the Speaker, or had you met him before then?
I'd never met him before. I can count on one hand the number of times I was in the same room with Rod Blagojevich while he was governor.
What was before all that transpired came about, what were your impressions early on of Rod Blagojevich?
Negative. We didn't trust him. We didn't trust his motives. We didn't trust his methods. We were very skeptical of anything he did. And we treaded very cautiously around him. The Speaker, very early on in my tenure, of course he'd been here for a long time, essentially adopted the policy that he wouldn't be in the same room with Rod Blagojevich without a witness. And he didn't even really want to be in the same room with him, period, because we just thought everything he was doing had a corrupt end to it. I don't necessarily mean corrupt in the legal sense. Nobody knew if he was actually breaking laws, but we were certainly very wary of him. And so that made it very difficult to run state government when the Speaker can't trust the governor. And of course the governor and the Senate President at that point had become allied. Emil Jones and Governor Blagojevich were quite close, and so that made it even more difficult for us to get anything done. We would correspond with emails, by paper, but very, very little face-to-face interactions. And when we did interact face-to-face, it usually did not go well.
You know, I think this is significant because we are, as a state, aside from the whole impeachment area that we'll get into, but I mean, we are in the troubles that we are in.
Yeah.
Many people thought the state was adrift under Governor Blagojevich's tenure.
Mm-hmm.
And
yeah.
To the extent that state government became dysfunctional, I mean, let's explore this just a little bit more, mm-hmm. because what was it about dealing with him that left that impression that Speaker Madigan did not want to be in the room with him alone, or even deal with him much at all if he could avoid it?
Yeah. It was everything you heard down here. You talked to people who tried to get bills signed by the governor. You talked to people who were contacted about fundraising. Everybody thought he was doing things the wrong way for the wrong reasons. Chris Kelly comes in and takes over the gaming operations, and Tony Rezko has a big say in things that are going on around here, even though he holds no public position. The political arm was clearly dictating everything from our perspective. And, if he were just a political guy, I guess you could live with that. But when he started blending the two things together, we start getting into areas where we have to be very careful. There's always a tension. There's money in politics. And you only support people who financially support people who are going to adopt your positions. That only makes sense. If I'm pro-choice and that's my issue, then I'm going to give money to pro-choice candidates, not to pro-life candidates. So we all understand that there is some relationship between policy and politics, but when it becomes a quid pro quo, you've crossed the line where it becomes, I will only take this official action if you give me a campaign contribution. Everybody thought that was going on. Nobody knew the details. When December 9th, 2008 came around, nobody that I know of was aware that he was, putting the Senate seat up for sale or dealing with the Chicago Tribune. We didn't know the specifics of, Children's Memorial Hospital or Johnny Johnson and the racetracks, but all of those things in a generic way we thought he was doing. We just weren't sure how. One way that really hurt, this poor relationship hurt, was with the capital bill. The Speaker wanted a capital projects bill as much as anybody. We needed to do things around the state. But could you imagine just giving hundreds of billions of dollars to Governor Blagojevich to spend? We couldn't do it. We just couldn't do it. And so we were sitting there trying to find unique ways to run a capital program, to run it maybe through the Secretary of State or something, to do something that had never been done. I felt like most of what I was doing my first year was things that were unprecedented. Well, we've never done this before, but could we do it this way? Because we have such a bad governor, we can't go through him. We were always trying to find ways around him so we could do the people's business but not have to rely on him. If you relied on him, it wasn't going to turn out well.